Vamos a empezar. Si quieren, tráiganse unas palomitas o lo que quieran. Le voy a ir, voy a ir pausando el documental pues, para hacer algunas acotaciones, pero lo vamos a tratar de ver de corrido. ¿Ahí ven todos bien?
Sí.
Va. Vamos a ponerlo. Igual si tienen algún comentario, alguna pregunta, lo que sea, pues díganme para ponerle pausa y platicar. ¿Va?
Since the late 1880s, visual artists and storytellers have used moving images to create amazing works.
You ain't heard nothing yet.
Movies have inspired us,
I have something more than a hope.
thrilled us, and captured our imaginations. Film has helped us share our experiences and dreams. Photochemical film has been the exclusive format used to capture, develop, project, and store moving images for over 100 years. It is only recently that a new technology has emerged that is challenging film's place as the gold standard for quality and workflow. Digital technology is evolving to a point that may very well replace film as the primary means of creating and sharing motion pictures. The documentary we're doing is called Side by Side. It's a documentary about the science, art, and impact of digital cinema. 100 years of photochemical filmmaking right now has reached a kind of threshold tipping point in this conversation, in this kind of intersection of time. It's historic. We've kind of come to this place where, is it the end of film? Where are we today?
It's exciting because it's a reinvention of a new medium. If the photochemical process has worked its way through our culture, we're on to another level. How do you use it to tell a story? How do you use it to paint a picture?
Are you done with film?
Don't hold me to it, Keanu, but I think I am. Digital cameras are the new aesthetic that's coming to cinema, and at the same time, we're going to mourn the loss of film.
I am constantly asked to justify why I want to shoot a film on film. But I don't hear anybody being asked to justify why they want to shoot a film digitally. I wanted whatever I could imagine to be something that we could realize. I saw the door opening on a field of possibilities that you just couldn't do with film.
It's really sad right now to see cameras recording imagery in an inferior way starting to take over film. I'm not going to trade my oil paints for a set of crayons.
Ok. Aquí, ¿qué es lo que empezamos a ver? Entrevistaron a Martin Scorsese, a Roman Polanski, a los hermanos Wachowski, a
David Lynch.
David Lynch. ¿Cómo se llama verdad, siempre se me olvida su nombre, el de Titanic,
James Cameron.
James Cameron, perdón. Entonces, entrevistan a los grandes de la industria y todo el mundo está muy renuente a cambiar de filme a digital. ¿Por qué? Porque pues, es el medio que conoce, ¿no? Entonces, pues nos da medio cambiar, pero la intersección entre el cambio a digital significa algo muy, muy relevante para la industria. ¿Por qué? Porque lo hace más barato y lo hace más accesible, lo hace más pequeño y lo hace más versátil. Entonces, esto lejos de ser algo malo, es algo bueno porque es una explosión para el cine. O sea, ahora todo el mundo puede hacer cine. ¿Ok? Entonces,
Exacto, porque antes como que los fotogramas como que eran muy difíciles de resguardar y eran súper carísimas. Y ya con el medio digital, esos fotogramas que se guardan en los cartuchos de las cámaras, que ahora ya son digitales, ya no se pueden quemarse ni todo eso y se hacen más baratas.
exacto, y aparte, aparte de que es más seguro, como dice Jonathan, pues no tienes que estar consumiendo tantos recursos, porque un rollo de filme es muy caro de hacer, ocupa muchos recursos, y una tarjeta digital es mucho más barato. Es claro más el riesgo de perder tu información por cualquier error, o sea, si es un producto pues, que se siente barato, ¿no? O sea, la calidad de imagen no es la misma y la comprensión del producto es diferente, pero sí nos da más versatilidad. ¿Ok? Vamos a seguirle.
There will be people who will cheapen digital. There are people who will not only kill the goose that laid the golden egg, but they'll sodomize it first.
If the intention is that digital's going to replace film, I would be sad if it didn't actually exactly replicate it. They process digital now to make it look like film, as if film is inherently better. Just we like the way it looks better, which seems kind of arbitrary. It's just what we're used to.
Film is a 19th century invention. We're at the top of the photochemical process. This is about as far as it's ever going to go.
Digital is here now, but it's going to keep going. And you got to be a part of that. Who's going to be a part of that, dictating where that goes?
I don't think film's going anywhere. I don't think it's to the advantage of anybody to totally eliminate film. There are going to be many of us that are going to fight for film. They're going to fight for the experience of shooting on emotion.
We really are in the midst of some sort of revolution that threatens the status quo. This is a potentially either scary thing or a very liberating thing.
One of the first steps in the production process is capturing the images in camera. The director, actors, cinematographer, and the entire production team work together to bring the script to life. The cinematographer, also called the director of photography, or DP, helps the director achieve the look of the movie. The DP is responsible for knowing what equipment is needed and how it works in order to capture the scenes.
Take a bit more camera, please. Action.
A director of photography looks at color and composition and angles and all these things in terms of how the movie is being built. The quality of light off skin, the quality of light through hair, the quality of light through the window or bouncing off the floor. They're equating the building of this world in terms of energy that reflects off of objects.
The question is about framing, sensibility, how to make people feel.
Bringing emotion into the light comes from being appropriate and somehow being, the really great ones are more than appropriate. They really startle you with how wonderfully evocative this look is of whatever they're doing.
That level of craftsmanship, or if you will, that technical expertise, you can't explain what you're going to do. So there is a certain amount of a leap of faith that they have to have in you.
To be a cinematographer is to have the knowledge of the art. Without any doubt, cinema today is a mixing of art and technology.
Today, in this era, you also have to be a bit of a technician. You have to know the equipment. And it's really important for DPs to understand the entire length of the image chain, from acquisition to exhibition.
Okay, ¿vieron cómo estaba montado todo el set de producción? ¿Cuál es el rol del director de fotografía en la producción?
Sí.
El director de fotografía lo que hace es dar el look and feel de la película, cómo se va a ver, ¿no? Entonces, son los que tienen que estar en contacto constante con el director pues el director, para lograr la imagen como ellos quieren, ¿no? Entonces, utilizan esta combinación de luces, las lentes correctas, todo para lograr la imagen como el director quiere.
The camera is a tool that focuses and measures photons of light and records them as images. With a film camera, light enters through the lens and hits a frame of film behind the lens. The film is covered with an emulsion that contains grains of silver halide crystals. These crystals react chemically when light hits them, and the crystals change into silver metal when they are developed. A photographic image is formed on the film.
There is something about the texture and the grain structure of film that I hold on to, and it's like a comforting thing to me. And it feels more tangible.
The highlights open up and flip themselves and give a sort of textural quality. Still have some granularity in the image that keeps highlights living. It keeps blacks with a little bit more nuance and character in them.
I like grit and grain and texture. It gives you a variety of different opportunities.
The workflow on a film set basically means that you take 1,000-foot loads of film loaded into the magazines, and that enables you to shoot for roughly 10 plus minutes per roll of film.
Add the cut. Give me reload.
And then it gives you a natural break in the action while someone pulls the magazine off the camera and puts a new magazine on. Then the film goes away to a film lab and is developed overnight and printed. And then the next day, you get to see dailies.
There was a joy for many.
¿Vieron esta parte donde está el laboratorio que dice Technicolor?
Sí.
Okay. ¿Han visto las películas que dice película Technicolor, no?
Sí.
Technicolor es la compañía que procesa e imprime los filmes de película. Ahorita ellos ya hacen cosas digitales, pero ellos eran los que procesaban el film. Entonces, por eso le dan como mucho crédito a Technicolor en todas las películas. Son los que revelan las películas.
Y de hecho, está hecha de granos, básicamente, los rollos.
Exacto, o sea, cuando se refiere a grano es ese como ruido en la imagen que tiene el filme de cine, que es como si estuviera pañoso, como si estuviera un poco sucio. Entonces, tiene como unos puntitos muy finos, casi imperceptibles. Entonces, a eso se refiere el grano. Como es físico, se nota el grano de plata. Okay.
And then the next day, you get to see dailies.
There was a joy for many years.
¿Qué son los dailies?
Los dailies es como el preview de las tomas que se hicieron el día anterior. Así, sin editar, sin nada, en crudo. Entonces, se juntan los encargados de la película en la mañana, ven las tomas del día anterior y hacen una selección de las tomas buenas para edición. Esto cuando es en filme.
Vale, profesor.
Ahorita ya se sigue haciendo igual en digital, pero pues es obviamente mucho más rápido. O sea, tú puedes ver los dailies inmediatamente después de que se grabaron. No tienes que revelar el rollo. Entonces te estás brincando un proceso.
For us to be, the genies on set. It's why we love dailies. We'd all go, we'd act, we'd write, we'd do what we do, we'd love what we did. And then everybody would wrap, and the next morning it'd come back from the lab, and we went, wow, look what we got. It was magic.
The director of photography was a magician. he was the only one who actually probably knew what was going to be on the screen next day. And this gave you a lot of authority and power.
And there's a certain leap of faith that you take when you shoot film. And there's something really romantic about that. Getting your dailies back and everyone being really excited to see what you got.
But I don't like the betrayal of dailies. I don't like going in and seeing and getting, you know, swept up with a performance and then seeing go out of focus on a 25-foot screen and knowing that there's no way to retrieve that. What I didn't like about film is that feeling midway through the day, end of the day. Did we get anything today? I don't even remember. Did we get? Didn't feel like we put the flag in it because you couldn't see. It's like painting with the lights off.
But the DP would tell you, it's not, the lights aren't off. It's in my head.
It's in his head. Well, that's great. But I'm operating the camera. I'm picking the lenses. I'm judging the performances.
Entonces,
A digital camera.
lo que están diciendo es que pues, es una cuestión a ciegas, ¿no? Porque realmente no tienes una comprobación directa de qué es lo que está haciendo. En digital lo que podemos hacer es reproducir inmediatamente el material y ver si una toma está mal y en ese momento regrabarla, ¿no? Entonces, en filme, pues es un albur porque si está fuera de foco, está mala iluminación, se equivocó alguien, no hay manera de verlo en ese momento hasta que lo revelas. Entonces, es un proceso que te toma todavía un día más. Entonces, es también parte de la versatilidad de lo digital.
It does not use film. Instead, it has an electronic sensor or chip behind the lens. The sensor is made up of millions of tiny picture elements, or pixels for short. When light enters the camera, it hits the pixels and creates individual electronic charges. These charges are measured and converted into digital data that represent the image.
Grains of film, they're just constantly moving, you know.
El pixel y el filme tiene algo digamos, en común. Los dos reaccionan a la luz. Entonces, uno lo hace por medio de un sensor que hace un proceso digital. Entonces, los sensores reaccionan como si fueran las partículas de plata y le dan al pixel una información, o sea, un bit que le va a decir de qué color es. Y el filme lo que hace es que captura la luz y la plata reacciona para plasmar el filme. Por eso, mientras más pixelaje tenemos en una imagen, mejor la calidad, porque estás teniendo más colores. Entonces, cada puntito del pixel me va a dar un dato de color. Entonces, si yo tengo... Por eso es mucha mejor la calidad cuando es 4K o cuando es 8K. O sea, estoy duplicando la cantidad de píxeles. Entonces, si tengo HD es 1920 por 1080, tengo 4K es 4 veces HD, o sea, es 4 veces más píxeles. 8K es 8 veces más píxeles. Entonces, es mucho mejor la imagen. Tengo más información. ¿Ok?
The image.
Grains of film, they're just constantly moving, you know. And so the result is that kind of fuzziness. Whereas with the pixel count, it's a very finite, accurate, exact thing.
So we're going to do one action for dolly and camera. I think that worked last time.
With digital cameras and monitors, you are able to see exactly what you are recording on set as you are shooting.
That's nice.
Unlike film cameras, you don't have to wait a day to see what you've captured. They are no longer dailies. They are immediatelys.
You sit around the back of the set or in a tent somewhere, looking at this huge monitor and making adjustments from that, which I actually quite like because it means you're seeing the picture exactly as it is. And with the old film capture, it was overnight, and sometimes you'd go to bed and think, I wonder if I got that right. You know,
or you say, I think we need more backlight. You said, don't worry, it'll look great in dailies. They know as well as anybody that you go to dailies, you say, I really think there should be more backlight in there. But if you do it on the set, you can just stand there and say, no, more backlight.
Okay, cut.
And they do it. They say, okay, that's exactly the way I want it, because that's exactly the way it's going to be in the movie theater.
People speak about, thank God I can see
Entonces, ven, o sea, la inmediatez de lo digital hace más fidedigna la visión del director en el cine. Entonces, ya no estás esperando a ver si salió bien o salió mal. Puedes corregir los detalles al momento.
What I'm getting now. I don't have to wait until tomorrow. I can see if it's in focus. I know what I'm getting. If you're watching a monitor on set and you feel that you're really seeing what you've got, I think you're fooling yourself. The audience is going to watch that film on a screen that is, 1,000 times bigger. You're watching it on a large TV.
Yes, you see what you're getting. It's right there. The problem for me is that I still think you need to see rushes later. I think in order to concentrate with the performances or just the movement, and I still think you need to see them at a special time.
The process of shooting film was the director of photography's art and secret. And today, the cinematographer is monitored on a digital shoot, and everything that they're doing can be seen, criticized, and questioned.
It's very destructive sometimes. I've worked with a couple of actors that insist on looking at every take. With one of the actors, I was able to talk him out of it because it was making his performances very self-conscious.
Right.
I also am convinced that everybody is just looking at their hair.
One of the great pleasures of being a cameraman was that the people, the suits and the producers, well, they all think they know how to act, they all think they know how to write, they all think they know how to direct, but they knew they didn't know how to shoot. So if they really got on you, you could say, here's the meter, you do it. And that would shut them up. But now they begin to think they can shoot. It's not like it used to be.
There are cinematographers who became cinematographers because they love the voodoo of it. They love it when the director says to them, down that corner, are we going to be able to see that, or is that going to kind of melt away? And they get to go, just wait until tomorrow. It's going to be amazing. You're going to love it. And I've had those experiences. I've sat in dailies and I've gone, oh. Some of Darius Kanji's work on 7, you just go, wow. But there was an equal amount of times that you go, look at it and say, what the fuck?
Now with digital cameras, everyone could see exactly what things were going to look like. That changes the way you light it. It may even change your performance because it creates a different feeling in the whole thing. It gives us more scope to be creative. That's what's exciting. That's, to me, was what the digital revolution in cameras is all about.
In 1969, at Bell Labs in New Jersey, George Smith and Willard Boyle came up with the idea for the charged couple device, and the first CCD chip was created.
One of the things that makes the CCD unique is its ability to perform specialized functions, such as acting as a camera. The image that you see on the TV screen of both of us is being produced by this small CCD camera, which is directly in front of us here.
El CCD significa dispositivo de captura digital.
In the early 1970s, after a visit to Bell Labs, Sony started investing in and developing products using the CCD technology.
Akio Morita, who was the founder of Sony, he was always enamored with Hollywood, and it was his dream to design an electronic camera that could create images that were the equivalent, if not better than 35 millimeter film.
Record what you want, when you want, and what.
By the mid-1980s, Sony was producing its first consumer-quality CCD camcorders. In the 1990s, small standard-definition cameras began recording digitally. They were first used cinematically when they were embraced by the Dogma 95 movement out of Denmark. Can you speak a little bit about, or where did you first come into digital?
Yeah, actually by chance, because we made this thing called Dogma 95, and we made some rules, and one of them was that the thing has to be filmed in Academy 35 millimeter. And then one of them said it had to be a handheld camera also. And then I said, but if that is the case, then we can also use video. And that was just at the same time as these cameras kind of appeared.
Anthony Dodd Mantle was the DP who shot the first Dogma film, Thomas Vinterberg's Celebration.
Was the appeal also of digital video, the lightness of the camera, the way that you could
I'll
move
tell
it?
you where that first hit me. I was coming out from a football match in Copenhagen, and I had a Sony PC3, which actually was the camera I ended up shooting Celebration on. And I remember seeing this crowd of like supporters just moving across this field with an industrial backdrop. It was misty and hazy, and it was kind of gothic. I was just learning how to play with it, and I just whipped it around, and I got this weird moment of immediacy, of lightness and immediacy. And I looked at the image, and I thought, oh my God, the amazing thing about this camera is I caught that. 2 months later, I'm shooting Celebration on these small cameras because I wanted to be a protagonist in Celebration. The combination of the movement, the activity, the emotional movement of that camera would probably define that film's visual language, apart from the actors and the writing, the great script.
Og undskyld, at I alle sammen er sådan nogle svin, at I bare sidder og kører på en hyggelig. Undskyld også, at din mand
That camera, and I suddenly saw these moves, these possible movements that I didn't know in my cinema. And that became my donation to Celebration.
Entonces, lo que nos está diciendo aquí es que el cine digital lo que nos permite es crear tomas en el cine innovadoras, dar ese movimiento que las otras cámaras pesadas no nos permitían porque tenías que tener un gran rollo, un tripié, muchos operadores. En cambio, tener una cámara en tu mano nos deja crear un nuevo lenguaje cinematográfico. ¿Ok? Voy a actualizar la reunión para que no se nos corte el documental. Vuélvanse a conectar, por favor.
Va.